Welcome to Recap King. In this video, we will explain the mummy. This film tells the story of a treasure hunter and Egyptologist who wake up an evil mummy during an archaeological excavation at the ancient city of Hamunaptra. Can they survive the mummy's curse? Let's find out in The Mummy. The Mummy begins with a flashback to the days of the ancient Egyptian Empire. It is said that an ancient Egyptian royal shaman named Imhotep fell in love with one of Pharaoh Seti's favorite concubines, Anck Su Namun. It turned out that Anck Su Namun also had the same feelings as the magic shaman. Imhotep and Anck Su Namun then have a secret relationship behind Pharaoh Seti's back, ignoring the rules that forbid anyone from having relations with the king's concubines. One night, Imhotep and Anck Su Namun secretly meet at Imhotep's temple. They love each other and have a relationship like lovers who have not seen each other for a long time. Their struggle was so intimate that Imhotep accidentally touched Anck Su Namun's body and made the tattoo makeup on her arm a little messy. However, unexpectedly by them, Pharaoh Seti already knew about the forbidden relationship that existed between the two of them. The pharaoh then decided to visit the Imhotep temple at the same time. Pharaoh Seti caught Anck Su Namun, who had betrayed him after realizing a tear mark on her arm. Apparently, Imhotep and Anck Su Namun had arranged a plan to kill the pharaoh. While Pharaoh Seti's attention was still on Anck Su Namun, Imhotep then appeared behind the pharaoh and stabbed him to death. Hearing the shouts of the king, Pharaoh's troops, called Magi, immediately barged into the Imhotep temple to arrest them both. Anck Su Namun then told Imhotep to go to save himself. She tells him that he must stay alive so that he can resurrect her from the dead. Imhotep, who already knew the meaning of his lover's words, tried to prevent Anck Su Namun, but she has already made up her mind. She would kill herself, and after that, Imhotep would resurrect her. After successfully escaping from the pursuit of Pharaoh's troops, Imhotep and his followers rushed to kidnap Anck Su Namun's body before Pharaoh's priests carried out the mummification process on her. Imhotep then took Anck Su Namun's body to the city of Hamanaptra, which was dubbed the City of the Dead, where the pharaohs and rich people of ancient Egypt were buried. So great was his love for Anck Su Namun, Imhotep was even willing to perform forbidden rituals in the underground temple to resurrect her. Imhotep carries a forbidden magic book known as the Book of the Dead, in which spells are written to resurrect the dead. Anck Su Namun's spirit was rescued from the afterlife and re-entered the woman's body. The ritual is almost over, but suddenly, Magi troops stormed into the temple and immediately arrested Imhotep and his followers before the magic shaman finished the ritual. Anck Su Namun's spirit returned to the afterlife. Imhotep and his followers were sentenced to Hom-Dai, which means cutting their tongue and being buried alive in a sarcophagus infested with flesh-eating beetles. Pharaoh's troops then locked and buried Imhotep's sarcophagus very deep, right under the statue of the god Anubis with very tight security, so that no one would resurrect the most powerful and evil shaman during the reign of Pharaoh Seti. The Magi also vowed to guard Imhotep's tomb and prevent his resurrection until the end of time. Thousands of years since the incident, precisely in the year 1920, French troops tried to seize the territory of Egypt, which was guarded by the Magi tribe. Among the French troops who fought against the Magi, there was a mercenary named Rick O'Connell. The Magi, who were victorious, could easily corner the scattered French troops after losing their command. Rick then ran for safety into the deeper city of Hamanaptra and hid under the ruins of an ancient temple. The Magi tribe finally surrounds Rick, but suddenly, the horse they were riding raged and behaved strangely. Then the Magi left Rick just like that. It turned out that Rick was standing in front of the statue of the god Anubis. Not only that, he was surprised by the strange movement of sand, forming a human face on the ground. He rushed out of the temple. 3 years later, an Egyptian historian named Evelyn gets a mysterious box gift from her brother, Jonathan. After the box was opened, Evelyn found a folded ancient map inside. Jonathan hopes that the map will show the location of the treasure hidden in the tombs of the pharaohs. Evelyn jumped for joy because the map turned out to be a map to the city of death Hamunaptra, which had only been considered a legend. Evelyn then took the map to her boss, Dr. Bay. The old man said that the map was fake, and many were sold as souvenirs to attract tourists to Egypt. Hamunaptra is a legend, and the city doesn't exist. Dr. Bay then burned the map. Even so, Evelyn still believes that the map is original. She then asked Jonathan to take her to the map's owner so that Evelyn could ask him directly. It turns out that the map owner is Rick O'Connell, a prisoner of the Egyptian government. Evelyn goes to Rick in prison and makes a deal. Rick is willing to be Evelyn's guide to find the city of Hamunaptra's death if she manages to free him from prison. Evelyn then made another deal with the warden of the prison named Hassan. The man agrees to release Rick as long as Evelyn gives him 25% of the profits from all the treasure they find in Hamunaptra, and he must also join the expedition. After finishing the business in prison, Evelyn and her group then rush to the harbor to board the ship and begin the journey to the city of the dead. On the same ship, they met a group of treasure seekers from America who was also looking for the location of the dead city of Hamanaptra. The American group is led by Betty, who is none other than Rick's former partner when he joined the French army. On the way, Rick warns Evelyn about an ancient mummy's curse that haunts the city of the dead Hamunaptra. He has personally experienced strange events that cannot be digested by common sense while in there, but Evelyn seems to think of the curse as a mere fairy tale. She said that her main purpose was to go to the city of Hamunaptra because there is buried the golden book of Amun-Ra, which is said to contain all the secrets and knowledge of the ancient Egyptians who were very great. Shortly after that, the Medjay tribe secretly raided the ship, trying to stop the expedition of Evelyn's group and a group of American treasure seekers who wanted to find the city of Hamunaptra's death. Gunfights and battles against the Medjay were inevitable. The attack also caused a large fire to force everyone on board into the water to escape, as did Evelyn and the others. Evelyn also had to give up all of her belongings burned out, including the map to Hamunaptra. Luckily, Jonathan managed to secure the key. After finding transportation and buying some clothes and equipment in a nearby village, Evelyn and her group immediately rushed to the town of Hamunaptra. The four of them rode camels all night and were watched by a group of Medjay tribesmen from a distance. Towards sunrise, Rick then stops at a location in the desert. Evelyn asks Rick why they stopped. Rick then explains that the rising sun will show the way to the city of death Hamunaptra. There they met Benny and a group of American treasure seekers waiting for the sun to rise. Arriving in the city of Hamunaptra, Evelyn's group then began their expedition, except for Hassan, who chose to separate himself in search of treasure. Hassan then found a wall filled with ancient artifacts in the form of a beetle. The man looked ecstatic as he prayed one by one from the wall, but unbeknownst to him, the ancient artifact is a flesh-eating beetle. One of the beetles managed to penetrate Hassan's skin and crept into his body. Hassan, who panicked, then tried to ask for help by running fast, but unlucky, he instead hit a thick wall and died instantly. Horrible events were also experienced by a group of treasure seekers from America. They tried to open a chest, and when it was opened, the inside of the chest spewed acid, which hit the faces of the hired laborers who opened the chest until their skin melted. Elsewhere, Evelyn, Rick, and Jonathan stumble across an ancient sarcophagus buried right at the bottom of the statue of the god Anubis. Evelyn assumed that the person buried in the sarcophagus must be someone important in Pharaoh Seti's reign or someone who had committed a major crime. They found a star-shaped keyhole above the sarcophagus. Evelyn then realized that the keyhole was exactly like the key Jonathan had brought, and when she tried to insert the key, it fit in place. But before Evelyn had time to open the lock, suddenly, they were attacked by the Medjay tribe, who destroyed their camp. This time, Rick confronts the leader of the Medjay tribe named Ardith Bey, who warns them that they must leave Hamunaptra now or they will all die. But apparently, the tribal chief's warning was only taken for granted because neither Evelyn's group nor the American treasure-seeking group had left the town of Hamunaptra. After continuing the search, the treasure seekers managed to find a chest containing an ancient black book and 5 jars. Meanwhile, Evelyn's group manages to open the sarcophagus they found at the bottom of the statue of the god Anubis and find a slimy mummy inside. When night fell, Evelyn accidentally saw one of the members of the treasure search group trying to open an ancient black book. While everyone was asleep, Evelyn secretly stole the book. At first, Evelyn felt a little disappointed because the book was not Amun-Ra's golden book as she had hoped, but she was still curious to read the black book. Rick again warns of the danger of the curse when Evelyn tries to open the book using the same key she used to open the slimy mummy's sarcophagus. Evelyn managed to open the Book of the Dead and read the first page. In an instant, the slimy mummy Evelyn had found revived. The sky suddenly became dark because it was covered by millions of grasshoppers that rushed towards them. Evelyn and the others were forced to take refuge in the rubble to escape the locusts. The mummy then took the eye and tongue of one of the American men who opened the chest containing the Book of the Dead. When the mummy pressed Evelyn and her group, Ardith came with Medjay's troops to save them. Ardith then said that the Medjay tribe had guarded Hamunaptra from time to time, so their nightmares would not come true. But now the situation is different. It turns out that the mummy raised by Evelyn is the mummy of the magic shaman Imhotep. Ardith says that if Imhotep is resurrected, there will be a terrible plague that will hit Egypt. After returning to town, Rick immediately told Evelyn to pack up to get out of Egypt as soon as possible. But plagues began to appear one by one and panicked the whole city. Rick and Evelyn accidentally find someone's dried-up body. The body is that of an American man whose eyes and tongue were taken by Imhotep. Rick and Evelyn then meet Dr. Bey, who is having a serious conversation with Ardith at the museum. Both assume that Imhotep must be targeting people who have found the Book of the Dead to be sacrificed so that he can regenerate perfectly. Evelyn then expressed her opinion on killing Imhotep using a special spell contained in the Book of Amun-Ra. Her opinion was quite reasonable. Evelyn and Dr. Bey immediately rushed to the giant stone tablet in the museum to look for the whereabouts of Amun-Ra's book in Hamanaptra. After finding the location, they immediately left there. Imhotep has killed everyone who found the Book of the Dead and perfected his form as before. The magic shaman then ordered his slaves to surround Evelyn's group. Imhotep then persuaded her to come with him. If Evelyn agreed to come with him, Imhotep would free her friends. Evelyn was willing and told Rick and the others to find the Book of Amun-Ra and immediately follow them to Hamunaptra. Rick then enlists the help of a friend, Captain Winston, to bring himself, Ardith, and Jonathan to Hamunaptra using a plane so they can catch up with Imhotep and Evelyn as soon as possible. After being blocked by a massive sandstorm controlled by Imhotep, Rick and the others finally made it to Hamunaptra. Rick, Ardith, and Jonathan then headed to Hamunaptra, leaving Captain Winston, who was dead after the incident of their plane crashing in the desert caused by Imhotep. Arriving at the underground temple, Imhotep uses Evelyn as a sacrifice to resurrect Anck Su Namun. Imhotep manages to save Anck Su Namun's spirit from the afterlife using a special spell in the Book of the Dead. Meanwhile, Rick, Ardith, and Jonathan try to find the Book of Amun-Ra, which, according to Evelyn, is buried under a statue of the god Horus. Imhotep realized that Rick and the others had arrived in Hamunaptra to look for Amun-Ra's book, then sent the mummies who used to be his loyal followers to kill them. Rick, Ardith, and Jonathan seem overwhelmed by the mummies of Imhotep's followers, but they were able to deal with it and finally managed to find the Book of Amun-Ra. Imhotep was very surprised that Jonathan managed to find the Book of Amun-Ra. The shaman was even more surprised when he found out that Jonathan could read ancient Egyptian letters like Evelyn. Jonathan turns out to be just distracting Imhotep so Rick can save Evelyn. Evelyn then approached Jonathan, who was holding the Book of Amun-Ra. She tries to find the right spell to defeat Imhotep in the book. While Evelyn and Jonathan are searching for spells, Rick tries to keep Imhotep busy with one-on-one fights. Imhotep can take Rick down easily, but Rick is an unyielding person. After a while, Evelyn finally cast a spell. Then suddenly, a horse-drawn carriage from the afterlife appeared and hit Imhotep but did not kill the magic shaman. Evelyn then said that now Imhotep is just an ordinary human and can be killed with any weapon. Without further ado, Rick immediately stabbed his sword and killed Imhotep. The forbidden temple beneath the city of Hamunaptra suddenly shook violently after Imhotep's death. Rick, Evelyn, and Jonathan rush out to save themselves. From a distance, they watch Hamunaptra's city of death crumble to the ground, burying Imhotep's curse forever. The film ends.